up on FYI, we have a special report on an experiment that brings together young people from both sides of a conflict. Hi there, welcome to FYI. We've got our special report coming up, but first, have you seen this? Ed Sheeran released a new song with a Ukrainian pop band called Antitila. They had given up music to fight in the war. The video features the band in their army uniform and a dancer in one of Kiev's bombed-out theatres.
We'll go all night, just stepping with a woman I love. All my troubles standing up, and when I'm in your eyes, electrified. We'll keep turning up and go all night.
I found out that there are more than 40 wars or conflicts going on in the world right now. It makes you wonder if peace ever stands a chance. Check this out. This is the latest footage of tensions between Israelis and Palestinians. In the past couple of weeks, there's been bombings, attacks, and protests. But this has been going on for decades. But what if young Israelis and Palestinians decided to meet and talk about living together in peace? That's exactly what happened for a special edition of Kidversation, where us kids have a big conversation on the big issues. For 75 years, Israelis and Palestinians have been fighting over one thing: land. Both sides claim the same part of the world is their rightful homeland. It was 2021 when, for the first time in my life, I saw on TV just how serious tensions can be. Fighting escalated between the two sides.
When I saw this on the news, probably like you, I was really confused as to why the two sides were bombing each other.
An internet search tells you that this part of the Middle East wasn't always called Israel. Until 1948, it was known as Palestine, home to the holy city of Jerusalem, which is so important to three major religions that for centuries, Christians, Muslims, and Jews fought for control of the region. But after the end of World War II, during which 6 million Jews were killed, Britain and its allies decided to give Jewish people a country to call their own, within Palestine. And they named it Israel.
As the refugees boarded the ships that would take them to their new country, they no longer feared the journey. They knew that the reception waiting them at the end of the voyage would be their own people, welcoming them with open arms to the shores of the brand new state of Israel.
Palestinian Arabs who lived there, and neighbouring Arab countries, felt this was unfair, and this led to one of the longest conflicts in history. Over time, many Palestinians have lost their land and homes. Today, the movement of millions of Palestinians is controlled by security walls like this one. It stretches 400 miles around parts of an area called the West Bank. Palestinians describe life here as an open prison. Israel says the security walls are necessary to protect its citizens from attacks by Palestinians. But why can't they live in peace together? I've travelled to Israel to meet two teenagers who have only ever known conflict. Ibrahim is Palestinian and lives near Bethlehem in the walled-off area of the West Bank. Talia is Israeli and lives in the city of Tel Aviv. But in this Kidversation, I'm not just here to learn more about the conflict. Ibrahim and Talia have agreed to meet each other to get a better understanding of their lives on both sides of the wall. It's my first day in Israel, and my immediate thoughts are, this doesn't feel like a conflict zone. I'm hanging out with Talia in Tel Aviv. It's a chance to get better insight into the views and lives of young Israelis.
Yes, and then
A year ago, Talia and her family took part in a project run by a charity called the Parent Circle Family Forum, which brings together Palestinian and Israeli families to get a better understanding of each other.
This is the sticker that's the Israeli-Palestinian Forum, and it says, "It won't stop until we talk." I've seen people read it when I hold it like this on the bus, but it's a powerful message. You're turning.
It was during this meeting Talia formed a friendship with a Palestinian called Ibrahim. A year on, they've agreed to meet again.
What was your feelings about coming here? Were you nervous?
I was sort of nervous at first with the whole conflict and the military. Then you come to Tel Aviv, and if I didn't know anything about the conflict, I wouldn't know that anything was going on.
No.
And then with the left hand, when you play this, then the left hand comes in.
The closest the violence came to Talia's family was when her grandfather, an army commander, was killed. The West Bank, where Talia's Palestinian friend Ibrahim lives, and the security wall that surrounds it, is far away, 47 miles away from Tel Aviv. The barrier has been condemned as illegal in an international court, but Israel says it has a right to defend itself. Before the wall was built, Palestinian bomb attacks were common. Now, there are fewer attacks.
You can't really feel the conflict. And the main reason why a lot of people don't necessarily care enough about it, because we don't feel it as much as they do.
So is that why you're so passionate about it, because you feel that everybody should care more about it?
It's not okay. I mean, the fact that I don't feel it every day, I'm grateful for that. Yeah. But everyone loses from this conflict. We lose soldiers. They lose people. We lose people.
Do you think that all Israelis would think the same way as you and kind of want to meet Palestinians?
No, not necessarily. And every side, I don't think everyone's on board with meeting the other side.
Not long after meeting Talia, 3 Israelis were killed in a Palestinian attack in Tel Aviv. It's time to head to the West Bank to meet Talia's Palestinian friend Ibrahim on the other side of the wall. We're just approaching Bethlehem in the West Bank, but all I know is before we enter, we have to go through a checkpoint. Ibrahim lives in an area that is officially a refugee camp. Many Palestinians who live here were forced out of their homes by Israelis who took control of their land.
There's art and graffiti everywhere.
There are reminders of those who were killed fighting for that land everywhere.
Yeah, so this is my cousin. He died when he was 14 years old. He was on the roof. He maybe threw some rocks on soldiers and some jeeps for the Israeli occupation. So they shot him.
I can't even imagine losing your cousin. That must have been so hard for you.
Ibrahim's cousin is one of hundreds of children to be killed throwing rocks at soldiers. The Israeli army says while it's regrettable that children are shot, it's necessary for soldiers to protect their own lives.
So, what's the point of it?
The point is that they want to show the occupation that we're not afraid of you. Even if you have guns, you're stronger than us. We're still going to stand here and defend our land, defend our people.
Like many Palestinians here, Ibrahim has never been allowed beyond the boundaries of the West Bank wall. He's never seen Talia's home city, Tel Aviv.
Living behind a huge 30-foot wall, does that have an impact on your mental health?
I think it has an impact on a lot of people's health, especially kids. Like, they go out and throw rocks. I think it's because of the anger.
So are you angry?
Obviously, everyone living the way we are is angry.
So what do you think would change the situation, if anything would change it at all?
I think...
If anything would change this? Or do you not think anything?
That's a hard question. If you want to change the situation, first of all, we should understand that the others are also human, just like us. So we should talk to them and listen to their opinions, know what's the problem, what's the core to all the hatred, and that's, I think, and that's my own opinion. Not everybody agree with me, but that's what I think is the solution for it.
What Ibrahim has just said is very brave. The idea of just meeting with an Israeli does not go down well with many Palestinians. Talia and Ibrahim are prepared to put the hurt and anger behind them. They hope their second meeting will inspire others to stop fighting for talking. It will take place at a resort next to the Dead Sea.
This is the safest place in the Palestinian territories for Ibrahim and Talia to meet.
We need all of us to meet the other side, only because it's the natural thing to do when you have a conflict with someone.
We really need to talk right now to know the needs and everything about the other side. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
It's been so long since I've seen you last time.
So happy to see you. Can I give you a hug?
How's it going?
I'm great. How are you? I'm really
Thank you, I'm good.
Do you want to go sit?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. I'm really excited.
I just love this view.
Yeah, it's beautiful. How do people on your side get the fact that you're coming here?
They don't really understand the fact that we're not here making a friendship and hanging out. We're talking about the conflict. We're talking about our problems, our needs from the both sides.
We are creating a friendship, but it's way more than that, because a lot of Israelis don't necessarily agree with talking to the other side, but I think it's really the only way.
War makes people lose their hopes about wanting to live. A lot of children drop out of school. Does that affect an Israeli children the same way that it affects Palestinians?
I'm sure that the answer is no. The war is difficult, and it is very stressful, and I think that the war makes a lot of people lose hope. But I do think that Israel has the right to defend itself, but they're not really moving towards peace, which is something that I'm frustrated about. I do want what's best for my country, and what's best for my country, I think, is peace.
That's the difference between you and me. You want the best for your country. I want the best for all humans. What do you mean that you want the best for your country? What is your country? It's the government, innit?
But when we will stop attacking each other, and you will have freedom, and we will have freedom, I don't know if we will live together. I don't know if in different countries. I don't mind. I don't care how it's gonna be, but I want freedom.
All Israelis are required to join the army when they are 18. Talia will be on active duty for 2 years. She hopes to be a military teacher.
How do you feel about the fact that I'm a person that you know, and I will be going to the military?
If you really want to be accepted, between the other soldiers, you need to hate the other side, and I don't feel good about that.
It hasn't been easy for me to care about the conflict and to have to go to the military, but I know that I'm not gonna lose myself in that. I know.
I hope so.
I know so. I really don't.
So guys, do you really think that friendships like yours will eventually bring about peace between Israelis and Palestinians? Or do you think you're just being naive?
I think we're not being naive, because I think this is the beginning of everything. Understanding that we are humans before we are enemies or the other side. And I think this is the true core of peace.
It's really hard to say now, because it hasn't been lots of time since we started to understand each other. So we really hope, and that's it.
I think that friendships like Ibrahim and Talia won't wholly solve the conflict, but I think it is the first step to peace. It might just be one Palestinian and one Israeli, But if everybody could learn to even just tolerate each other, we wouldn't be here.
One thing's for sure. If leaders on both sides are to ever agree on how to share this ancient and holy land, they need to see a desire for peace from today's generation.
You can get involved in the big conversations on the big issues, like conflict, racism, bullying, and poverty. Head to our webpage to see more conversations from FYI. See you next time!